In the United States, the overall dropout rate for undergraduate college students is 40%. 20% of students took a gap year for 2020 to 2021, compared to just 3% in 2018. Roughly 12% of college students report the occurrence of suicide ideation during their first 4 years in college.
So what's the cause of these statistics? To understand the cause, we need to discuss how the education system affects students and their mental health. Currently, our education system focuses too much on standardized tests. These standardized tests bring stress and anxiety to students because of how much they have to compete for grades. In addition, the way classes are set up in universities brings less engagement for students. In these classroom settings, students are made to sit for long periods of time, listening to a lecturer speak with no talking. There's also little to no movement, and in these big lecture halls, it's hard for students to get any focus from a professor. Also, curriculum-wise, classes tend to focus more on memorizing material rather than actually learning it. Students also rarely get hands-on experience in classrooms, and they don't have time to have small group activities with their peers, which leads them to having less interactions with their classmates. They also don't have as much time to have discussions in class and ask any questions they have. Based on this information, we asked college students for their opinion. If you could change one thing from a university education system that would make you most enjoy learning and/or developing your capacity, what would it be?
All right, so one thing I would change about education would probably be the way we look at participation, because I feel like there's a distinction between, providing an answer or a response just for the sake of talking, and then providing value.
I would probably include more guidance from professors or people of that nature that have been through the stuff and have learned what we are learning. I feel as though some professors or people of that nature just throw students into the deep end, throwing assignment after assignment, quiz after quiz, and exam after exam, and having them learn all on their own.
I would fix the relationship between professors and students so that there's more of a connection, whereas professors are more interactive and closely knit with their students, more so than they already are. I would have it whereas there will be more workshops where students could interact with each other and professors and teachers' aides so that all of the students can get a better understanding of assignments and the functionality of what they're supposed to be doing.
Making it more accessible in terms of different methods of learning, in the sense that it'd be more interactive or better explanations. Perhaps changing where it is from a large auditorium to outside if possible.
Specific is you get a lot of lectures where you aren't tested on what the lecturer has. Like I had a class where we literally just wrote papers and it wasn't based on anything we learned in lecture. So I feel like a good thing to make education more hands-on and engaging is to give more reasons to go to lecture, like less exam-based things that make you like really stressed to go to lecture, like, oh no, I have to retain all of this, and more of like, lecture is fun, I'm really engaged, I'm happy with what I'm learning.
I would say less busy work, not necessarily because I don't want to do homework, but something that's more engaging that actually helps with my major. Because as a senior, I've taken so many classes and done so much work that had no benefit to me whatsoever. It was just for a grade. So I wish there was more meaningful work, maybe more experiential work or something that would help me with my career.
And I think that for changes in the college education system, we should have more collaborative testing styles instead of all of us all taking one final together that determines our whole grade. We should have exams where we can be in groups of 3 or 4 or partners, and we can do the test together.
The curriculum and how it really treats students as if we're all on the same playing field, but we all we're born into very different lives and had very different resources growing up. But in the end, we all take the SAT and we all have to take these classes.
The engagement behind the student population. There are times where the student body would know the answer to a certain question posed by the lecturer, but fail to provide an answer. I think we need to alleviate pressure on students to make mistakes and promote growth and positivity within the classroom setting.
These interviews show that students also see the problem posed by our current education system and how there needs to be reform. So what is a way to improve upon the current education system? Well, A method that experts are talking about is pedagogy. Here we will focus on two methods of pedagogy, embodied and active learning. Embodied learning is the instructional method that does not only offer an intellectual way of teaching, but also involves the whole body. Some examples include Lego building, acting out worksheet tasks, hopscotch math, hands-on projects, and field trips. Active learning is an approach to instruction that involves actively engaging students with the course material. Examples include role-playing, case studies, group projects, think, pair, share, peer teaching, and debates. So how would pedagogy look in a school setting? We contacted Caroline Coy, an instructor at Gals Schools in Denver. We discussed how pedagogy fits into play in a school environment. Here is her take on how pedagogy worked at Gals.
This is like what the hallways would look like. So after movement, which happens in the morning, and the reason that happens is in the morning is because we need our students to wake up. Research shows that schools start too early. The mind is not active at that time. So we put 45 minutes of movement in the morning. And then our schedule cycles. So you might have a core class on Monday that starts right after movement. And the reason for that is because after your body has moved, your brain is primed for learning. And so you are going to process more information. And because of that, we swap the core course that's going to follow movements. On a Tuesday, it would be math. On a Wednesday, it would be science, history. So that no one course is getting that like optimal learning time. Yeah. And then to bring that back, like we don't have time in the school day to have 45 minutes of learning after lunch, which would have been really beneficial. Mm-hmm. So after lunch, we have an extended hall break. So that's what you can kind of see here with the jump rope. Some of the hallways in schools I've taught it before, there's a way that you go through passing period. You cannot run. You cannot move quickly. Mm-hmm. Teachers stand in the hallway, they monitor. At Gals, we stand in the hallway and we monitor for safety, but really we're encouraging students to run, to move, to laugh, to get energy out, so that they're ready for learning. If you visit Gals and you go in to observe a class, more than 50% of the time that class is not going to be there. They might be outside. They might be having a walking discussion. They might be using the field. So this kind of just represents how much of the time we're moving physical spaces. Where we have to do group work, a lot of the times we'll go into the gym or the auditorium so that you can really spread out.
Here are some photo examples of how active and embodied learning are used at Gals. As you can see, they use outdoor spaces as well as a variety of indoor spaces. We asked Caroline how we can integrate these methods in a university setting. Here's her response.
And I think that there needs to be this shared sense of responsibility from instructors and students, that when you walk into a classroom, whether it's a large lecture hall or one of your small like program classes from your junior or senior year, where it might make more sense for you to have that community, but that every class is a learning community. And there are ways and resources for instructors to know how to build that, whether they're in a 400-person lecture hall or in a 20-person seminar class. And I don't think those resources exist for instructors now. And I don't think because of that, students know that it's kind of their right to expect it. I think there's still this idea, even as I taught seniors in high school, I think there's an idea as high schoolers that, once you go to college, you're not going to get any support. You know, you're going to have to do all this on your own. You better be prepared. And I don't think that that's a helpful way forward.
In this regard, our learning spaces need to change to address students' needs. We need to find ways for students to make use of their bodies when creating knowledge, as well as creating a safe learning environment for students. We can also take advantage of students' capacity to engage collaboratively in the learning process, and we can expand access to educational tools. Each of us affects the embodied ecosystem of others, which is very dependent on having a supportive environment. So, for pedagogy to work in a university setting, everyone must work together because the system is dependent on community.